Hello, guys. Yokoso. Well, this is going to be a somewhat serious stream for once. Hopefully the microphone works and everything else. If I'm gonna say something to the Japanese in Japanese, Nihon no mamotte kudasai. Nihon no bunka to Nihonjin mamotte kudasai. That's about all I'll say in Japanese for now. Please protect the Japanese culture and people. So I don't know how real this news headline is, but after reading through it a couple times, I'm getting more and more worried about it. And now you're thinking, why is this Hakujin becoming worried about what might happen in Japan? Well, considering I live in Sweden and Sweden is turning into a third world hellhole, um, I just decided to say something about this. Japanese Foreign Minister announces plan to transform Japan into a diverse multi-ethnic society. The Japanese Foreign Minister has announced a plan to transform Japan into a diversified multi-ethnic society by encouraging mass immigration and giving foreign residents the right to vote. So here we have basically, if you take away the Japanese people, you take away Japanese culture. So if you love Japan and this happens, Japan will no longer be the Japan that you love. We want to experience, like when we think of Japan, and when we think of experiencing Japan, we want to experience Japanese culture. We want to experience and do as the Japanese do because we think that it's wonderful. I mean, most of the weeaboos would even say that Japanese culture is superior to our own, and so of course, if you're a weeaboo and you love Japan, and this kind of shit starts happening, then I would and they get some kind of I don't know, some kind of grip over society, then I would suggest that the weeaboos would that we would unite as weeaboos, go over there and vote against it, even if that would kick us out. Because then we could actually say like, okay, we fought to save Japan. But this is probably not gonna happen. I really don't think the Japanese will be for this. So here it continues. Toshimitsu Motegi is a politician for the Liberal Democratic Party (LDP) and has served the country's Minister for Foreign Affairs since September 2019. Um, During a Q&A session, Motegi said his national vision meant transforming Japan in the 21st century into a diversified, multi-ethnic society by way of mass immigration across the world. This would also be achieved by codifying English as the country's second language and giving suffrage to resident foreigners. I mean, I'm not going to say it's bad to have some more English, but I honestly, I think Japan should just develop in the Japanese way with Japanese people and just improve from there on as individuals and as a group. Not take in failed cultures and failed societies. I mean, people who wanna transform Japan into their own failed society. I don't do that. Um, Maybe this is just something to piss off the Japanese so that the xenophobia will rise. In that case, it's something that is pretty positive for, at least in some sense. The country has had an extremely low crime rate and terrorism is very rare. Back in 2017, at the height of the refugee crisis, it was revealed that Japan had refused 99% of refugees, having accepted just 28 in 2016. Great. I call that protecting your nation, protecting your people, protecting what is sacred. I mean, Japan is one of the few remaining Western civilizations that actually has some hope to become great in the future. I mean, I don't think that migration is all bad. Of course, if you come to Japan and you're rich or you want to work there and you want to help and you want to, assimilate into the culture, not bring it, not make it multicultural, but you just want to help, of course, I think that's fine. Of course. I mean, you follow the rules and you don't destroy anything, but I mean, if, like, just imagine, um, like, what is his name? Uh, Paul, Logan Paul. When Logan Paul came to Japan, there were lots of headlines in Japan. Like that kind of shit will happen, and that is mild in comparison to what will be going on if this stuff happens. I'm just saying. Um, we we in Sweden we didn't have any grenade attacks before immigration, or we had like I think it was seven in about 50 years or something like that. Um, and since the mass migration to Sweden in well overall in Sweden, I think we had like in the past 5 years it's been about 1,000 grenade attacks total. Because they say it's something like one every day or one every other day at this point. Um, I don't know how if it's really that extreme in that town, but I know that things have gotten worse, and I've heard gunshots very nearby where I live. So, um, and I don't live in that dangerous a neighborhood, but it's a neighborhood that has a potential to become more and more dangerous. Um, yeah. Anyways, back in 2018, leftists in the US began demanding that Japan embrace multiculturalism because okay, that's um, yeah, it's insane. Oh yeah, so we have this successful Japanese person, and therefore, come on, man, come on. We're taking care of this successful Japanese person, so let's you just take in all these people who are unsuccessful, take in all these people who just want to destroy and live their own life and be lazy. Japan is a very hard-working society, and you can say what you will about that, like working over time is maybe going a bit too far, but to take care of people who just want to be lazy or just, well, not necessarily want to be lazy, but actually fight against you as you're trying to work your hardest, that shit is crippling for a country and for individuals. Asserting that xenophobia runs deep in Japan, Adelstein urged the country urged the country to create multiracial society it needs to survive and thrive as a nation due to its declining birth rates. You know, not that I think that it would necessarily be like I've heard like there are some um gaijin hunters who want Western babies or whatever, the half white babies because some think that they're cuter. Um, I'm gonna check the chat. No one said anything. Okay. I guess I truly am Shadowbanned. I'm probably gonna have to upload this somewhere else, do this again at some point on some other channel to really get through with this. With a dwindling population but a slightly increasing number of international marriages, Japan has to decide how to combat racism, embrace multiculturalism, tolerance if it wants to survive. No, why would you? Yeah, but you should. Okay, I think that Japan should definitely survive, but there are other ways than mass migration. Japan would need 33.5 million immigrants from 1995 through 2050. I mean, I think you should have more kids, but I mean, I think if a country is hell-bent on dying, and so I think why not die happy? Why not die with pride? I mean, I really don't think it's gonna die. Honestly, I think it's just gonna lower the population to certain amounts, and then it will just stabilize. That's what I would probably believe with the birth rates and everything, because the people who don't have babies are not gonna be there, and the people who have babies are going to be there. Uh, so of course it's not gonna go down to zero, because the people who survive are obviously gonna be the ones who have babies, and then that's gonna be a favorable um, genetic or whatever you want to call it, or and it would probably be more and more incentivized to have babies. I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't mind being with Japanese women, but I think that you shouldn't force multiculturalism to solve the problem, you know? And also, if you really, I mean, don't don't certain government packages work like tax cuts if you have babies, or to be able to give a little bit of money to the people who are having babies? Like you could, I mean, there are other solutions. Like you could have sperm banks, for example, and the women could have sperm that way and get baby. Oh, well, it's not a. You kind of want a functioning family, but then again, yeah, that wouldn't work even with migration. So, of course, then a lot of the weeaboos. The thing is, okay, so this says all across the world. They want from everyone across the world. Now we're not talking about just successful people. We're not talking about hardworking people. We're talking about all sorts of people from anywhere. And that is kind of where the problem starts because not all cultures are equal. And us who love Japan know that because we think Japan has a superior culture. Even if we also hopefully hopefully most of us can see that Japan has its issues and are some things that you kind of because you want the Japanese to be happy, you think, well, we really revere the Japanese and we think that you've accomplished great things. And honestly, anime and manga are the greatest forms of storytelling, in my opinion. Greatest forms, and your music is amazing. It's deep. The way you organize music is amazing, and sometimes it's simple, but it's you bring out the emotions in a very successful way. So I really want to help Japan survive, you know, like Japan is such a beautiful country. But okay, so we kind of want to, you know, solve these things in some way, because the problems don't just go away just because you say, oh well, fuck, don't like fuck mass migration. That's a terrible idea, because it just creates a bunch of crime everywhere. The Japanese people are largely opposed to mass migration, displaying hostility even towards Chinese migrants, despite the fact that they make up a small fraction of the population. If Motegi gets his way, they may be about to discover for themselves whether or not diversity is a strength. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think you should be racist, but I think that if you're Japanese and you care more about other Japanese people than you care about foreigners, I think you have every right to care for that. I think that is a part of your identity. I think it's a part of your culture, and I think it's something that is sacred. Um, so definitely you should protect that, and obviously you don't need to attack anyone, but most what I know, even in Japan, like Westerners are very rarely getting attacked for being Western, you know? It's more like, okay, maybe we'll avoid you or whatever, or maybe we won't treat you as well. But in many situations, you could also see, like, okay, there's some, like, racism within that, I guess, but in most cases, you could also see a Westerner behaving in a way that makes him be treated more poorly. And that is the Westerner's fault, right? Like, if I come to Japan and disrespect the culture and just scream at shrines and disturb everyone and get in the way of traffic, and I get in the and start touching people everywhere and whatever, and overall just act like a total douchebag and act very very disrespectful, then of course the Japanese are going to treat me poorly, right? If you behave like a piece of shit, you're gonna be treated like a piece of shit. And anyone who wants to come to Japan to change the culture or to make the Japanese adapt to something, they are just terrible human garbage. Don't let them in. They just want to destroy what you have that is sacred, what is holy, what is great. So yeah, I think the Japanese xenophobia or whatever you may call it is actually something good. It's actually it stems from something good that has allowed Japan to flourish in a technological sense and in other senses. But of course, I'm not gonna say that I'm against certain migration. Like I said, if if there's someone who genuinely wishes to benefit the society and will do work his hardest to fight to make it better and whatever, and then marry a Japanese woman and have kids or whatever, I think that's fine. That's great. That works to solve the problem as well. But that's not necessarily making it multi-ethnic or multicultural, because you're not pushing the culture. It's simply love works in mysterious ways, you know? So I'm trying to not be extreme on any plane here. I'm trying to be kind of on a normal plane. Then again, I've already gone out. Like here, when I say protect the culture, because if we said this in any white country, in any Hakujin country, like Sweden, for example, we're immediately called racist for saying, oh, well, you know, like Swedes first in Sweden. While in Japan, people would say, wait, what? Is it people frown upon that? Imagine that happening in Japan, having to frown upon saying, you know what, Japanese are first in Japan. We take care of the Japanese first. And I think that's fair. In Japan, you do as the Japanese do. And you respect that you get to take a part in their culture. You get to enjoy their culture. And of course, you have responsibilities then. And of course, you might not have the exact same rights. I mean, you're the one who legitimately chooses, oh, yeah, I want to be there because I appreciate the culture and whatever, or what, for whatever reason you want to be there. So you shouldn't be a total douchebag and not appreciate it and say, oh, well, I deserve more here. No, you don't. I think people who could go to Japan and get to enjoy the culture and all should be happy for what they get. Because, you know, I want to go to Japan, definitely. And I intend to go to Japan. I mean, first off, as a tourist, and I intend to go to shrines. I intend to go to different temples. I intend to go to dojos. I want to go to the onsen, the hot springs, and enjoy that because that seems amazing. Um, but yeah, I would like to help out. I would like to talk to people. I would like to help with certain issues that a lot of people are having, like the suicide rates, but those are high in Sweden as well. But I would like to talk to people, you know? Because in Japan you kind of gotta fit into the group and all this, and I'm that's a part of my individuality. I'm very much an individualist when it comes to that particular thing to be oneself. When it comes to individuality itself, um, and to be able to be oneself and to grow as your own individual, even if you're different from everyone else. So I would like to help people let their feelings out, you know? Like if you keep it bubbled up, eventually it will be too much. So I want to go there and help people. But trust me, not all foreigners would be as good-willed, you could say, as me. I'm not going to call myself good, but good-willed, you could potentially say, right? Without sounding like a douchebag. Bakamitai. Yeah, I mean, this is basically it. So yeah, protect Japan. Don't make it multicultural or multi-ethnic. At max, have 5% of people that aren't Japanese in Japan, and just keep it Japanese, you know? And only take in the people who genuinely wish to benefit Japan. I mean, it's one thing to be a tourist for a week or a month. It's another to live there, to move there, and to get a right to vote. Honestly, you have to be really strict with who you let in. Very strict. I think stricter than America. Um, so that you know that the people who come in are just there to enjoy your culture and to wish the best for your culture, who wish the best for your country. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Wait, I'm gonna check one time when I took and test how it would work out. Indeed. But yeah, as immigration hasn't worked anywhere else in the world, at least lately, it wouldn't work in Japan either. So that's why I'm saying all these things. But yeah, thank you all for watching. 日本、日本の文化守ってください。そして、じゃあねー。